Hey guys, welcome to Pocket Saga. How you doing you all? In this video we are going to see part 3 of What If Ash Banished with Cynthia. And please do check out story named Pokemon, Reason by Dutch Actual. And make sure to leave a like, share and subscribe. Let's get into the video. Mount Silver's Summit, resting in checkpoint area, 3:30 p.m. Well, this guy is heavy, said Brock while carrying Thanatos to a seemingly appropriate spot to place the downed person who fought a Moltres. Max was right beside him, checking if Thanatos is still alive. Hey, why do we need to help this person anyway? We know he's working for Team Galactic, the young boy asked. Cynthia insisted she was going to help him. We can't just leave her to face a Moltres alone, can we? Answered Brock. But the Moltres has already left when she went back inside. I wish I had seen that Moltres fly away from the mountain. If I did, wouldn't be doing this right now. After they found a good spot to lay Thanatos, Brock rested the trainer against a rock. Give me your Pokédex, Max, so I can scan it to register our names in the scanner thing. Max gave him one raised eyebrow. Scanner thing, you know what I mean. I wasn't listening to the representative. Brock shrugged. What about Dawn and Cynthia? Max asked. They already did theirs before going back in to grab some water from the pool we came across, said Brock while taking Max's Pokédex, leaving for the scanner afterwards. You should get that guy's Pokédex, too, Brock said while walking away from them. Okay. Max searched Thanatos' pockets, gently to not startle the man. He found the Pokédex in the man's inner pocket, but when he was about to take it, his attention was diverted elsewhere. It was Thanatos' right arm. He remembered last time he saw the man, the right arm was covered by a glove. What's wrong, Max? Asked Brock while handing Max's Pokédex back. Hey, Brock, look at his right arm. Brock took a closer look and understood what Max's concern was. Wow, isn't that something? He must have got in a really bad accident or something. Is it fully functional like a normal human hand? Brock asked while looking at the arm. He spent some time looking at it. Oh yeah, his Pokédex is in his inner coat pocket, left side, Max commented. Brock reached to the unconscious person's pocket. The other pocket, Max added. Of course. Brock switched to look to the other pocket, and grabbed the Pokédex. Now we have to scan this thing. After standing up, he could feel a cold grip on his arm. Huh, I think I can do that myself, thanks. Ah, the Pewter City gym leader screamed because of the sudden turn of events. It's not like I'm a ghost or something, Brock, said Thanatos while trying to regain his balance after being knocked unconscious by a legendary bird. Can I have my Pokédex back? Aw sure, here it is. Thanks. Did you carry me up here? Asked Thanatos. Yeah, Cynthia just insisted that we save you. Wonder what she's thinking. Max answered with an annoyed face. You better be grateful. It's not like you carried me up here, right, Max? Well, it was Brock, but. So the thanks goes to Brock. He turned to face Brock. Thank you again, Thanatos said with a smile. Max just pouted. It was no problem, but you should really thank Cynthia for being so stubborn. She was going to carry you herself if I didn't interfere, said Brock. Thanatos could feel himself smiling at that statement. Such a sweet and caring girl Cynthia is. I guess I should, but I'd better scan my Pokédex first. Shortly after leaving to scan his Pokédex, Thanatos came back to the group. So where's Cynthia and Dawn? He asked. They went to grab some drinks from the water fountain down below where you fainted. They should be coming back here shortly, Brock answered while checking his backpack for some small snacks. He found some energy bars and offered them to Thanatos and Max. They gladly accept. And then Brock realized that something was off. Hey, did we ever tell you our names? Dawn's, too. Realizing his stupid mistake, Thanatos lost his composure a little. It was comforting for him to be with his old friends after such a long time. He was too careless. Well, how can I not know your names? You're both in the Grand Conference. You, Brock, are Pewter City's gym leader, explained Thanatos. He shifted his gaze to Max. And you, are Norman's kid. Saw a couple of your league matches on TV, you're pretty good, you. Aw shucks, you're embarrassing me, said Max with a laugh. I guess so. Brock bit his share of the energy bar. So you were a trainer too. Why are you in Team Galactic? Well, I was kind of indebted to someone in the company. So I worked there to try to destroy it from the inside," answered Thanatos while leaning on a rock. "Ah, I see. Is it safe to tell us all this?" Brock shot another question. "Yeah, I've quit from Galactic, so there's no point in hiding all this. Besides, you guys all had your share in fighting the team, right? Might as well find out that they're getting active again," explained Thanatos while finishing the last bits his last piece of the energy bar. "I guess that's a good thing," Max added. "Yeah, there's also no point in hiding my identity anymore, now that Rito's gone. I'm going to need all the help I can get to take Cyrus down," he thought to himself. He glanced over at Max. He remembered the times when he was traveling to all the places in Hoenn with Brock, May and Max. And then there's Sinnoh, with Dawn. And one of his most precious times, Kanto, with Misty. He terribly missed his friends. Missed being their friend. Missed all the good times that he could have done with them if it were not for him. Cyrus. Before he could start his long train of thought about hating Cyrus, he realized something. "Hey, Max, where's your big sister and the leader of Cerulean City's gym?" he asked, careful about his word choices. "Oh, May and Misty. May met Drew earlier. They haven't met in a couple of years, so they decided to catch up. Misty was dragged with her," Max explained. "Oh, I thought Drew and May was in Johto together. And since when were May and Misty such good friends?" Thanatos asked. "Well, many things happened." Max shrugged. Seeing Brock's confused face, he realized that he was not supposed to know all that information for just being a stranger from Team Galactic who turned out to be a good guy. Thanatos smiled to himself. Smiled to Ash, who he missed being. Not a professional from Galactic. He reached out to his pack, where he pulled out a pouch. Sounds of small metal could be heard from inside the pouch. And Brock was a good guy to have on his side, a guy who can keep secrets. Sometimes. He took a silver octagon-shaped badge, which represented the pewter gem. He tossed it over to Brock, who was startled a little, but barely managing to catch it. He looked up in surprise. "You challenged the Pewter City Gym." Thanatos responded with a grin. "First badge in my entire life. The leader's old man had to help me to win against him." Brock looked at the badge again as if he just remembered something important. "Oh, cool. Brock uses rock-type Pokémon, right? What Pokémon did you use?" Max asked in excitement. Thanatos figured he still had the utmost interest in Pokémon. "At the time, I was just a rookie trainer. And the leader had only a Geodude and an Onix that was ready. So I used the only ones I had that are good for the battle. A Pidgeotto and my Pikachu." Being too engrossed in telling his own story, Thanatos did not notice that Dawn and Cynthia were already finished taking water and have been listening to his story also. "But you were in a serious type disadvantage. How did you manage to win?" Max added to the series of questions. "My Pidgeotto pulled all his strength and eventually won against the Geodude. But was knocked out afterwards by the Onix." He smiled to himself, remembering that his Pidgeotto had evolved into a Pidgeot, and wondered if Pidgeot was happy out in the wilds. Maybe it was time to check on how he's doing. Anyways, my Pikachu was getting why the Onix. And we were on the brink of defeat. Until Pikachu hit the sprinklers with an electric attack, causing the Onix to be drenched. Brock just stayed quiet during the entire time, listening to his story. "So my Pikachu unleashed his strongest Thundershock, and won." "Ooh, you brought your Pikachu with you, right? Can I see him? Can I see him?" Max asked, nicely. "Sure, I kept him in a Pokeball. Even though he absolutely hates being in it." Thanatos answered with a smile, reaching to his belt. He showed his Pokeball in the direction of Max and Brock, showing the distinctive lighting mark on the top half. Brock looked at Thanatos in a disbelief, which Thanatos returned with a wink. He released his Pikachu. The Pikachu looked annoyed when it was released, ready to complain to his trainer about being contained in the Pokeball. But the Pikachu caught the presence of the Sinnoh champion, and immediately ran to her and jumped to her shoulder. Cynthia patted his head, which was returned by a cute growl. Having noticed that Cynthia and Dawn were back, and the quiet sobs of Brock shedding tears of joy, Thanatos walked up to the Sinnoh champion. "Hey, I'm glad." Before he can finish his sentence, he was greeted by a hard slap on the cheek from Cynthia. "To see you." He rubbed his cheek to ease the pain. "What was that for?" he screamed. Then he could see that Cynthia's eyes was getting teary. And he realized he had done something wrong. Hey, what's wrong? You know how worried I was about you. When you didn't come to the checkpoint even after the Moltres flew away. If something had happened to you. Cynthia started sobbing. Don and Max looked at each other in confusion, and looked at Brock, who was also sobbing. Hey, Brock, what's wrong with you? Max asked. Brock answered while still immersed in his mix of sobs. Ash pulled Cynthia and hugged her, causing Pikachu to jump off. He patted her head while she leaned on his chest while still sobbing. I'm still here, aren't I? I'll never be gone, not while I'm still with you. Ash said with a big grin. Still angry, Cynthia could not help but smile, throwing weak little punches on Ash's chest to show her protest of her boyfriend's rash actions. Ash Ketchum, you idiot. Don't ever make me worry like that again, said Cynthia while calming down. Quickly realizing what Cynthia just said, Ash, who was trying to conceal his identity to the other two, could not think of anything to say other than, what? Like someone who just screamed on top of a mountain, he was echoed by Don's, what? And another, what? From Max. The combo was broken by Brock, who yelled, Ash, on top of his lungs while running to give Ash a big hug. Foggy clearing. Checkpoint area. 4 p.m. Ash had been hoping the moment when he reveals that he was still in fact well alive, to be glorious and touching, but reality proved otherwise. A certain woman kept making unexpected situations. Not that he minded, of course. With his father figure in Team Galactic gone, things could be worse. The group had gotten off the mountain fairly quickly, going down on the sides with the suitable choices of Pokémon. Since they gradually went up the mountain, they had gotten used to the thinner air pressure on the mountains, making it easy to go down without dealing with any sudden changes in the air pressure, if one were to go up immediately and try to scale down the mountain afterwards. Ash saw many emergency response teams being dispatched on the summit, tending to the many people who attempted to fly over Mt. Silver. The height of the monument was not to be underestimated. After wasting some time on the summit explaining how he was still alive and telling his friends to save the tears for later, Ash had flown down with his second choice of Pokémon, Salamence. The flying and dragon Pokémon had made quick work of the descent, followed by Cynthia's agile Garchomp, Don's Togekiss, Brock's Steelix, and finally, Max's Vigoroth. Max found the rest of the group were waiting for him on the checkpoint area. What? At least I'm still faster than those guys. Max commented while pointing to the people who were still trying to go down the side of the mountain. Following the lead of Ash's group, the 5 of them scanned their Pokédex on the available scanner, and decided to split up for half an hour to restock, since a pair. NTLY the committee had set up shop for items and equipment on the clearing before the forest's entrance. Ash, who had no real need to buy items, was just waiting for his friends before he noticed someone who was out of place. A person wearing a motorcycle helmet, with a distinctive light blue tint. A member of Bravo team. Ash walked up to him while trying to remember his name. He sat down on a chair next to the person from Bravo. Carmen, correct. Yes sir, Tony Carmen it is. One of Bravo team, and you must be the legendary Thanatos. Carmen replied. Yes, I am. What brings a member of Bravo here, to the middle of nowhere? Ash asked while looking around to make sure that nobody was listening in. Quick update and escort. I was given the mission to escort you, till you reach the objective. Carmen answered with enthusiasm. Ash raised an eyebrow. What objective? Didn't you get an update on your Pokédex after you scanned it? Ash checked his Pokédex to see if an objective was added. Ah, you're right. Ash flipped through the explanation. Retrieve object in Fogbound Lake. What the hell? Said Ash in annoyance. Why can't we just battle like a normal competition? Isn't that the initial point of the conference? Carmen looked at him and explained, well, Cyrus is trying to get the participants to retrieve this artifact. It seems this object, can open the dimension rift. Just like when he captured all the 3 legendaries from Sinnoh 4 years ago. I reckon he already got one in Treeshroud Forest. Ash remembered the papers he obtained back in Indigo Plateau. What are the artifacts called? He asked. Time gears, if I remember correctly. Then I was right to take those papers. Ash thought. But something just did not click. Then why did he recapture the 3 legendaries again? Doesn't it seem Redundant, if he can open the rift with just these gears. Well, that's the thing, Carmen said while looking for a chair close to him. Having found one, he sat down and continued. The red chain that he made 4 years ago was incomplete. He realized that after the incident with you. After he got out of jail, of course. So in a way, he is thankful to you. Ash stopped him before he continued. You know of my past. Yes, the leader of Bravo team told me. Is that a bad thing? He asked back. Not really, no. I didn't know she told other people. Ash commented. Well, yes. She can be a bit of a blabbermouth sometimes. Carmen added. Ash smiled at how true that was. At this point, there were no more advantages in hiding his past. Please continue. Yes. Coming back to the red chain. The chain would not have been sufficient to control the Pokémon that reigns over the dimensional rift. And Cyrus would have to capture that Pokémon before he could shape the world as he saw fit. And the chances of that happening were pretty slim, even for Cyrus. Carmen paused to take a sip of his drink. He took off his helmet to drink and put it back on again. Ash wondered what the point for the helmet was, but decided to ask later. I see. But how does this relate to the time gears? Ash asked. The time gears, if collected alone, stops the motion of time for the gears region. For example, in Treeshroud Forest, I was the one to take the gear. And time just stopped. Even a dew that falling from a leaf stopped in midair. Ash raised an eyebrow again. So what's the point in gathering all the gears? That would just stop all the flow of time everywhere. The world would be non-existent. That is if you get the time gears only. What if you gather all the gears? And make use of the red chain on top of it? The time gears are very powerful objects. Carmen asked. Ash snapped his finger and answered cue the Pokémon in the dimensional rift. Carmen nodded. Exactly. Then we have to return that gear you got back to Treeshroud. And protect the gear here, on Fogbound, from the hundreds of trainers that are going to be looking for it. But how are we going to do it? Carmen placed his bag in front of him and opened it. He revealed 24 Master Balls. The objective didn't specify what the object was. Ash gave a light-hearted laugh. You're right. How careless can Cyrus be? Cyrus didn't personally see to organizing this round. He gave it to our team's executive representative. So we don't need to worry so much about this round. Carmen answered. The guy with the chocolate-flavored cigar. That's him. Ash could not help but to laugh at how Bravo team was acting. The once loyal dogs of Galactic, now planning to defect. Quote. So you're really planning to turn your back on Galactic? Carmen sat back and crossed his legs. Only the vice commander stayed, the one who attacked you in the city. He is one mad bastard. And is thankful as we are to Galactic for picking us up from our miserable lives before, we don't like to die just for Cyrus. Especially after finding out he was about to reshape the world in his own views. A new universe just for him. No thanks. We're good in this one. Where we can smile full of spirit, where one care for another. The rest of the team thinks so too. Ash smiled and noticed that he was supposed to meet up with his group. Come with me, Carmen. Meet the rest of my group, and into Foggy Forest we go. Foggy Forest. Entrance. 4:30 p.m. Ash and Carmen found that they were not the first to be at the entrance. Max was already there, restocked and ready to go. Hey Ash, who's the person with the helmet? He asked. His name is Carmen, also defecting from Team Galactic. Ash answered easily. Oh, is that right? Well, nice to meet you, Carmen. My name's Max, said the young trainer happily. Ditto. Carmen replied. You're not supposed to trust people that easily, Max. Dawn said behind them, with Brock and Cynthia with her. For all we know, he can be another person working for Cyrus but is pretending to work with Ash. Especially someone who's wearing a helmet when he doesn't have a bike with him. Dawn commented. Ash shrugged and tried to explain, well, Carmine's trustworthy, believe me. So I believe you all have read the update on your Pokédex. Brock grabbed his Pokédex and read it again. Yeah. But what object are we supposed to look for? Ash noticed that there were a couple of trainers who were listening into their conversation, because of the presence of the Sinnoh champion. And the apparent reputation he had built in the conference. He walked over close to them, and said out loud, Master Balls, I heard. Placed on top of Fogbound Lake. He saw that the trainers heard him and started whispering to themselves. He looked at Carmen and smiled. Carmen nodded in return. Well, that's that. Let's go in the forest. Ash concluded. Can I ask a question, before we go? Carmen raised a hand. Isn't that the Sinnoh champion with you? He pointed at Cynthia who was standing beside Ash. Yes, I am. Is there something wrong? Cynthia answered. Carmen shrugged. No, I was just wondering why you are here. I thought elite trainers prefer to be the lone wolf types. Ash pulled Cynthia and put his arm around her. Well, we're dating, and she doesn't want me of her sights to do something reckless, said Ash with a big grin on his face. Hey. Being caught by surprise, Cynthia couldn't really say anything, and she didn't exactly mind the sudden show of affection. You really have to tell us how that happened, Ash. Max added. Brock definitely needs some advice on how to get girls. Max looked at Brock to find him sulking in an invisible corner tearing why Ash got a beautiful lady when he had no luck with them. Oh really? Carmen commented in surprise. Wow, the team leader would be jealous if she finds out. What did you say, Carmen? Ash asked. Nothing, really. Let's go. Foggy forest end path. 5:30 p.m. I can hear water, said Ash while avoiding the overgrown branches. Visibility was absurdly bad, with being not able to see more than 3 meters in front. There's a reason it's called foggy forest, I guess. We close to the exit, Brock. We should be, Ash. I'm pretty sure we followed the map correctly. Brock answered about 3 heads behind him. The group walked some more for a few minutes, before Ash stopped to inspect a red orb he found lying on the side of the path. What's wrong, Ash? Not feeling well? Cynthia asked. The look of concern clearly displayed on her face. You guys go on ahead. I'll be right there behind you. Ash let Cynthia stay with him, while the others went on ahead to scout the area. He looked at the red orb. Its properties shining like the sun with a beautiful red and orange color. He touched it, and then a dizzy spell rushed his head like a wave in a tsunami. His body felt weak, and he dropped to his knees, his vision gone. Ellipsis. Over here. I found the stone. A voice called out. Really? Lucky us. Another voice answered. See, I got it. I found the drought stone. The voice said again, excited. Now, let's go back to that Groudon statue. Here's the Groudon statue. I have to put it in the Groudon's heart. Here it is. Am I good or what? The person laughed heartily, and the sound of him putting the stone on the slot was heard. We did it. We actually did it. It's lifting. Good job, partner. The fog is lifting. ... Quote ... Ash, are you okay? He heard a voice coming to him as he regained his vision. Yeah, just a bit dizzy, that's all. He tried to stand up, however, losing balance on the way up and stumbled forward again. Cynthia tried to catch him. Are you really okay? Maybe we should get you to see a doctor. She asked. I'm fine, really. Just was a bit dizzy, like I said. He tried standing up again, this time, successfully. See, I'm fine, he said with a smile on his face. Let's go where the others are. Yeah, that may be a good idea, said the champion. Ash looked at the stone again. Drought stone, he thought to himself. That was like the vision of the past I had in Indigo Plateau. But I could only hear some voices this time. Wonder what those meant. Ash, are you coming? Yeah, I'll be right there. He bent down and picked up the stone. After walking a short distance, they found the rest of the group standing before a statue of a Pokémon. Max noticed them and waved. Hey Ash, over here, we found something. Ash walked over to them, and saw what Max was talking about. There was a Groudon statue, standing majestically. There was an inscription in the bottom support, which was half sunken into the ground. The whole statue by itself was covered in moss. Cynthia went forward to read the inscription. Reignite the life that burned within Groudon. Then the sky shall be set ablaze with the sun's heat. Then the path shall be revealed. I'm surprised you can read that. Ash commented. Of course I can. What do you think I did in all of those ruins I visited? Cynthia said with a sly smile. Ash smiled proudly at her. Ash turned to Carmen, who was just coming back after he looked around. What did you find? I made a full revolution, it seems. I was going around the base of the land formation in the center. Led me right back to you guys. Can't see a damn thing because of the fog. Carmen answered. Maybe you should take off your helmet. Don commented. Huh, funny. Did you find anything? Carmen retorted. Well, no. Then the helmet stays on. Ash looked at the inscription again and remembered what Cynthia said. Groudon's heart, he muttered. Did you say something, Ash? Brock asked. What are you going to do with the statue? Ash went closer and inspected it on a closer look. He looked for anything that had a resemblance to a dent or a slot. After a bit of searching, he found a slot on the back of the statue. If the vision was anything, then there was no harm in trying. Here goes. He inserted the stone, and the Groudons did you do? Max asked while running away from the statue. The fog was starting to lift, and they could see that they were below a giant rock formation that stood tall on top of them, supported by a structure in the middle. An upside-down mountain, one might say. Ash looked behind him towards the foot of the formation, and saw an entrance to a cave. Brock, what are the chances of that cave leading to the top? Brock looked over to the opening. It's possible. Then we're going in there, said Ash while taking out his mobile phone. He took a picture of the path leading to the cave opening. What's the picture for? Dawn asked. For us to go there. We need to memorize the path to that opening for when the fog comes back. Ash answered. But we can go right now and we'll have no problems. Ash smiled at her. Not when I take the stone out. He took the drought stone out of the statue, and the fog came back. Why did you do that? Max protested. Now we can't see anymore. But we already know where to go. I don't want the other trainers having a jolly good time strolling in here when we did all the hard work. Quote. Makes sense. Brock added. Ash threw the stone back to the path where he found it. Well, let's go in that thing and retrieve the object. Steam Cave. 5:45 p.m. It sure is hot in here. Ash commented while wiping off a bead of sweat that was starting to form. The party had just entered the cave, but they could already feel the change in the temperature. The atmosphere felt dry, and heat could be felt entering their lungs with every breath they take. Wouldn't want to fall in that, said Ash while pointing to a nearby water pool that seemed to be boiling. While making their way through the naturally made maze, the party encountered a number of Pokémon living in the cave. It was apparent that the cave and the Pokémon living inside it had made little to no previous contacts with humans. There seems to be a lot of fire-type Pokémon here. Max spontaneously commented. You don't say, little guy. Carmen sarcastically replied. Who are you calling little guy, helmet-wearing freak? Max retorted. Whoa, sorry, I didn't know you were so sensitive about it. It was just a little joke. Lighten up, will you? Carmen apologized, which seemed to be a genuine one. I'll have you know, freak, that not only I'm not a little guy, but I also qualified for the Grand Conference. And at such a young age. The trainer from Petalburg confidently claimed. Is he always like this? Carmen asked while turning his head in the direction of the rest of the party. Brock laughed and shrugged. You'll get used to it. Ah, wonderful. Carmen laughed it off and walked on ahead, now beside Ash. Done with your idle chatters? Ash asked. Well, I guess. Why? Carmen answered. We've got a split here. Ash replied while pointing to the two paths in front of them. I'm guessing we'll have to split up. It seems so. Carmen walked up to the path on the right. I'm taking this path. Anyone want to come with me? Ash, in response, approached the path on the left. Guess I'll be going here. Then I'm taking the left one also. Cynthia promptly responded. Then I, Dawn and Max will take the right one, with Carmen. Right guys. Brock replied almost immediately. Max agreed, while Dawn gave a little bit of a protest. But Brock, I wanted to go with Ash. Brock grabbed Dawn's shoulder and dragged her towards Carmen and Max. Yeah, plenty of time to catch up later. We'll see you guys at the top. Ash smiled and waved, followed by his Pikachu doing the same thing. Be careful on your way up. The couple walked down the maze in no hurry, seemingly wanting to cherish the chance to be alone that was given to them. It's been a while since it's just the two of us, said Ash, breaking the silence first. Yeah, things have been kind of hectic, Cynthia replied. The two walked some more, with Ash catching Cynthia taking glimpses at him a couple of times. Something wrong, Cynthia? He asked. Oh, no, not really, she answered. I was just wondering if you've been okay. Ever since that, you know. Ever since Drive, Righto died. Ash smiled and avoided her gaze. It's been hard, sure. But I want to move on. I have to move on. And if I don't succeed in stopping Cyrus, I'm scared that his death would have been in vain. He answered, his voice cracking. There hasn't been a day where I don't regret being so careless that day. Cynthia looked at Ash and saw that he was holding in his tears. She held his hand and leaned against him. You don't have to hold it in, you know. Men can cry too. Ash cleared his throat and looked at Cynthia. He patted her head while smiling. Thanks, Cynthia. The two continued the rest of their walk in silence, before finally witnessing sunlight from the end of the cave. They exited the cave, to see a rocky clearing leading to a small path. The path seemed to make its way to a body of water. That must be Fogbound Lake up ahead. Ash said. We should hurry. Right as they were about to step on the path, a tremor appeared. They stepped back from the path, only to see a large, red Pokémon emerging from seemingly nowhere. A massive, bipedal, dinosaur-like creature with a gray underside and covered in red. Segmented plates of thick skin which act as armor stood in front of them, ready to crush them within a moment's notice. The place had suddenly risen in temperature, along with the appearance of the Pokémon, which Ash had figured to be the guardian of the lake that he had read from the reports he found. The two were frozen in place. The Pokémon had 4 claws on each hand, 3 claws on each foot, and 4 dozer-like blades on the end of its large tail. Ash had seen this Pokémon before. Impossible. One of the 3 weather trio. He thought to himself. Impossible. Why is Groudon here? Cynthia whispered to Ash while stepping back from the legendary fire Pokémon. How am I supposed to know that? I'm as shocked as you are. Ash replied. He was also stepping back cautiously, careful to not anger the Groudon. However, it was all too late. The Groudon raised one of its arms and smashed it onto the ground, causing debris to fly towards them. Instinctively, Ash dove towards Cynthia to cover her from said debris. Ash recovered quickly, and grabbed one of his Pokeball. Tish, it seems I have no choice. He threw the Pokeball high in the air to have it release his Pokémon. Salamence, go, he shouted. The Pokeball proceeded to reveal a blue dragon-type Pokémon. Dragon Breath, he shouted once more, instructing his Salamence. The blue dragon let out a powerful beam from its mouth, hitting the legendary Pokémon on the belly. The Groudon groaned, however, regaining its footing shortly after. Groudon opened its mouth, revealing a shiny ball of light, ready to be released. It's going to use Solar Beam. Salamence, get out of the way, it can shoot the Solar Beam right away because of the drought it brings about. Ash instructed his Salamence without any hesitation. The Groudon fired its Solar Beam, however. Salamence dodged it with amazing reflexes. Quick, follow up with another Dragon Breath. The trainer shouted. The Salamence released its Dragon Breath attack, but to no avail. The attack went right through the Groudon. It looked like the Groudon vanished into thin air for a millisecond, but then returned again. What is this? Said Ash in disbelief. The Groudon flickered a couple more times, before disappearing completely. What the hell just happened? He uttered, still not understanding what he had just seen. Thanatos, are you alright? A person behind asked while running towards him. It was Carmen and the others. Ah, Carmen. Yeah, I'm fine. Ash answered while looking at Cynthia, seemingly regaining her composure. What was that Pokémon just now? Was that a Groudon? Carmen asked with great curiosity. Apparently it was. It just disappeared though. Ash answered with a low voice. I don't know myself. Carmen looked around and shrugged. Ah, your arm, it's bleeding. He said while pointing's quite the wound you got there. Ah, you're right, said Ash, just noticing the wound he got. I must have gotten it when that bloody thing hurled rocks at us. Let me see. Cynthia pushed Carmen aside and immediately tried to bandage up his arm with the first aid kit she had brought for the round. You've lost so much blood, she cried in worry. Ah, I'll be fine. Ash smiled to her while letting her treat his arm. It's much better than letting a lady's face get injured, he commented casually while patting her head. Cynthia immediately looked down to hide her beet red face upon hearing his comment, and protested. You idiot, you're so smug, trying to act like a cool knight. Well, it seems like they'll be fine, said Carmen while letting out a sigh. Brock returned to his invisible corner for another round of insta-depression. Fogbound Lake, 6:15 p.m. Now reunited, the party continued on the path and arrived on Fogbound Lake. The sun was beginning to set and can be seen over the horizon of the lake. Far in the center of the lake was a green metallic object, shining over the lake. "This view isn't half bad," said Ash while looking for a place to sit down. His Pikachu agreed, jumping off his shoulder and walking to the edge of the lake. "Be careful, Pikachu, you don't want to fall in the lake," Ash warned his best friend. "Hey, Thanatos." Carmen tapped Ash's shoulder. "There's something coming over there." He pointed at the path they went through earlier, noticing a presence of a Pokémon hidden somewhere in the path. "Quickly, place the Master Ball somewhere so the others can find it. I'll try to stall this Pokémon if it comes out," whispered Ash to Carmen. The former Galactic member quickly jumped into the shallow shore of the lake and pretended to look for something. "What are you doing, Carmen?" Max asked upon seeing Carmen looking for something in the water. "The objective, whatever it was," Carmen answered. "Then count us in to help," Brock said while coming over to help, followed by Dawn and Cynthia. The trainers looked for the objective all over the place before Carmen thought it was a good time to drop some of the Master Balls, letting Max find one of them. Excited, Max shouted loud to tell everyone of his findings. The others, now aware what to look for, followed suit to look for other precious balls. Not long after, they had found all the Master Balls scattered around by Carmen. "This is a precious item, isn't it?" Cynthia commented while inspecting the Master Ball she found. "I hope they let us keep it," said Max in excitement. "Ash, Carmen, have you found it yet?" Brock asked. "Not yet," Ash answered. "Tell you what, why don't you guys go on ahead and finish this round, we'll be right behind you. I'm sure you guys are all tired. We're probably going to find it sooner anyway, we'll be right behind you." After some convincing pretty words from Ash, the rest had finally agreed to leave first. Now left alone with Carmen, the two looked at the object at the center of the lake. "So that must be the time gear," said Ash while stretching his back. "Yeah, strangely mythical, isn't it?" Carmen added. "So you are after the time gear." A voice came from behind them. "I'm afraid I cannot let you do that." The two turned around to see a Gardevoir approaching them. "So it was you, the one who was hiding in the path," Ash said while walking towards the psychic Pokémon. "But rest assured, we're not here to take the time gear. Rather, we're here to protect it." "I find that hard to believe," the Gardevoir answered. "Is this Gardevoir speaking to us via telepathy?" Carmen asked in confusion. "Yeah, it's not that uncommon for psychic Pokémon." Ash explained the situation to the Guardian of the Lake. About Cyrus, the time gears, and how many trainers are going to come up to the lake in search for something. Believing the story told, the Gardevoir agreed to hand out Master Balls to the trainers who made it to the lake after fighting the Groudon, who the two learned to be an illusion made by the Gardevoir to protect the lake from unwanted guests. "So it was you who took the time gear from Treeshroud Forest?" the Gardevoir asked while looking at Carmen. "Yes. At that time, I was still under Cyrus' commands. No longer will I be a dog for Team Galactic," he answered. "That is why, after this, Thanatos and I are going to Treeshroud Forest to return the gear to its rightful place." The Gardevoir turned to them and made an expression that looked like a smile. "Please do so, and let us hope time will return to the forest." After apologizing for the ruckus and trouble, the two headed back to the resting point to stash in their Master Balls. "Ah, that took quite a while," said Ash after finally being done from the formalities of the second round. He was now through to the third round, which consists of Pokémon battles among the 24 trainers left in the competition. Finally, he thought, "Shame they didn't let us keep the Master Balls." Max said in disappointment. "I really hoped they would. I mean, think of the possibilities. We can catch anything we want with that thing. Man, they're so stingy." The young trainer kicked a pebble in response. "At least they provided transportation back to the hotels," Brock added while checking his map. "But I didn't know they had a road leading up to this place." He looked around to check which route the transports were going to take them. "They don't," Carmen chimed in. "It's going to be off-road. Bumpy. So when's the next round going to start?" Ash asked while taking out his Pokédex. Brock looked at the tournament schedule he had in his pack. "In 4 days, I think." "Hey, Ash," Dawn called Ash after being quiet for some time. "You still haven't told us how you're still alive, and where you've been for the last 4 years. I think it's time to do some explaining, mister." "Ah, well, I'll tell you about that later." Right now. I have to go somewhere. Ash answered as he got up. Let's go, Carmen. Lead on, boss, said Carmen as he walked with Ash. Ash, where are you going? Cynthia asked. I'll tell you later. See you in a couple of days. He replied while waving. Geez. He always disappears like that. Treeshroud Forest. 3 a.m. Treeshroud Forest, once known for its miraculously lush forest, filled with tall trees and a natural habitat full of energy, lies ahead of them. However, all they can see in front was a completely gray-turned area, a shell of its former glory. The forest provided no color. No signs of life. All the Pokémon were frozen in their places, as if stopped by an otherworldly power. With the eerie atmosphere surrounding them, they were worried. Ash looked around once more to see if he can find any life in the forest. However, his searches were fruitless. This is absurd, he said with great concern. I could have never imagined that such an important piece of artifact exists. Neither have I, Carmen added. He grabbed a leaf from a tree branch. The leaf was gray in color, like everything else. It disintegrated shortly after he detached it from the branch. What the hell just happened? Ash, who had been watching, did the same. He took a leaf from a nearby branch, and the leaf followed suit, disintegrating, like it had never existed before. This is scary, to say the least. He looked closely at a falling water droplet from a nearby tree. It must have been early in the morning when you took the time gear out. How did you know? This water bud right here. It formed on the leaf. Usually the only time natural condensation happens is at dawn, or in the mornings. He explained. He touched the droplet, and like the leaves, it disintegrated quickly. Let's not touch anything unnecessary and let's not try to move anything from their places right now. We might interfere with the flow of time. Carmen raised an eyebrow, although not visible as it is hidden behind his helmet. The flow of time. Ash nodded and started to walk again. I believe it's not natural to take out the time gear. This wasn't supposed to happen. That's why this place is so hyakas. I have no idea how the man that wrote the research report managed to pinpoint the location of this place. Even we had a hard time getting to this place and we knew the location already. He continued. I'm just saying, that by taking out the time gear from its rightful place, we humans have distorted the natural flow of time. Carmen turned his head to take a better look around. I didn't really pay attention when I took that gear. But it's scary all right. Looks like someone paralyzed time and space. Hence the name time paralysis. No. Time paralysis? Carmen asked. That's what the report called it. Ash answered casually. They continued to walk in the forest for some time, before finally reaching the spot where Carmen had taken the time gear. They stopped in an open clearing. A circle formed by the trees around them. A rock was located in the middle. Is that where you found it? Ash asked while investigating the rock. Yeah, I found it floating above the rock. Carmen replied. Floating. Carmen nodded. As if the rock is the opposite side of a magnet. Well, I guess I can't be surprised anymore, considering the things that have happened, said Ash, sighing. So, go ahead. Place it back. Will do. Carmen walked up to the rock and took out the time gear from his pack. He held it above the rock, just like how he found it days before. He let go of the gear, only to be answered with the gear falling down to their feet. What just happened? Ash asked while raising an eyebrow. Well, it's not staying up, the other answered. Yes, I can see that. Try again, Ash suggested. Sure. Carmen picked up the gear and held it above the rock again. Maybe I have to put the bottom on the rock, he said to himself. He lowered it gently and let the bottom of the gear touch the rock. He let go, with the same result. Well, shit, what the hell, let me try. Ash stepped up and tried to return the time gear to its rightful place, however, with the same result as Carmen. Carmen tilted his head to see the gear had fallen to Ash's feet. Well, this place is royally screwed, isn't it? What the hell? Now what are we supposed to do? Ash snapped. He sat down on the rock to give himself some space to think. Carmen followed and sat down on the grass. Do you still have that report? The one you found in that cafe? He asked. Maybe it has some answers in it. Ash snapped his finger and reached for his pack. You're right. I haven't read the whole thing. He took out a stash of paper and started reading while Carmen laid his head down to catch some rest. Ash let out a sigh and placed the papers down. He looked over at Carmen, who seemed to be sleeping. He came over to Carmen and slapped the helmet the other had on. "Wake up, I'm done reading." "Huh, right, right." Carmen groaned in protest as he tried to sit up. "I haven't been getting much sleep recently." He crawled to a nearby tree and rested his back against it. "So, what have you got? Good news or bad news first?" Ash offered. "Bad," the other answered. "Actually, I kind of have to start with the good news," said Ash while scratching his head. "Then why ask?" "All right. According to what I've just read, once you remove the time gear from its original place, returning it back won't do anything good," Ash explained. "But, there is a way to return time and lift the time paralysis," he continued. "Are you listening? I'm all ears. Go on." "Right. So what we have to do now is gather all the time gears and bring them to the place where the primal keeper of time resides," Ash said while nodding to himself. "And, what's the bad news?" Carmen asked after crossing his arms. "Well, it says in the report that the keeper of time resides in a place hidden by the Rainbow Bridge, as it is located in another dimension." Ash picked up some pages he dropped earlier. "Okay, I still don't get how that's the bad news. We can just go to the Rainbow Bridge and go to that place, right?" "Yes, but not quite. To get to the Rainbow Bridge, we need some sort of key." "Yes, and that would be?" Carmen inquired. Ash threw some pages from the report he had read earlier to Carmen. That part was covered by a blood stain. Carmen looked over the pages. "Are you kidding me? What kind of a sick bastard is the guy who wrote this?" He frantically flipped over the pages a couple more times to make sure the other pages contained no information about the key. "No good, the other pages never mentioned anything about the key," said Carmen while tossing the papers back to Ash. "Well, I guess now the best thing to do is to figure out what the key is." Ash got up from the rock he had been sitting on the past hour, and stretched his back. "Let's head back. Might as well collect the rest of the time gears while we try to figure out what the key is. No. Won't that stop time flow?" Carmen spontaneously said. "Damn it, you're right. I guess we can't just freely collect the time gears. First we have to be sure we have the key to the Rainbow Bridge. And it also says there were some kinds of trial before the bridge. Geez, what a hassle." Ash packed his things and started walking towards the exit of the forest, with Carmen following him. However, Ash had caught something moving from the corner of his eye, something following them. "Do you hear that?" "No, hear what?" Ash looked around to confirm his suspicions, but all he could see was the lifeless scene of the forest. He shrugged off his worries, and continued walking. It might be the time he spent alone for most of his life the past 4 years, but he could definitely sense something tailing them, something ominous. He prayed that it was nothing. "Do you seriously not feel that?" "Feel what?" "Maybe you're just tired. You haven't slept in 2 days. The fatigue is getting to you, I say," Carmen answered. Ash looked around once more around them to find nothing. He shook his head in an attempt to clear it. Maybe it was just my imagination running wild. He reluctantly turned around and exited the forest. Going home to rest was his next stop. Celestic Town, 12:30 p.m. Ash still had 2 days left until the 3rd round of the Grand Conference, and after asking around, he learned that Cynthia has taken the opportunity to go back to her hometown in Sinnoh, Celestic Town. "Man, it's been a while since I had gotten a haircut," he muttered to himself, checking his appearance in a nearby window. He had gotten himself a haircut after thinking about how troublesome it was to have long hair. "Man, I don't look half bad," he said to himself while looking at his reflection on a window outside a stranger's house. "Pika Pika." His Pikachu agreed. He noticed that a girl inside was looking at him. "Mama, there's a weird person outside," smiling to himself after looking at me tilde. After some apologies being said, Ash continued on to the Celestic Town Historical Research Center, where Cynthia's grandmother worked as the head. He figured that if Cynthia were to come home, she would visit her grandmother first. The research center was close to where he ran into trouble. Celestic Town was a small town that preserves Sinnoh history and the old ways of life. Located at the back of the center was the Celestic Ruins. Ash arrived at the research center and rang the bell. An old lady with gray hair wearing a lab coat came to answer the door. "Ah, Professor Caroline, how do you do?" he greeted the head of the research center. "Pika." Ash's Pikachu also greeted the professor. Do I know you? The professor asked. Ah, sorry. My name is Ash Ketchum. I believe we've met about 4 years ago. 4.5. My friends and I tried to help you regain possession of the adamant and Lu Strauss orbs during the incident that time with Team Galactic. Ash explained. The professor thought to herself for a second before finally remembering who Ash was. Ah, of course. You're that young Amon trainer from back then with the Pikachu. She offered her hand for a shake, which Ash gladly returned. Pardon me for asking, but aren't you supposed to be dead? At least, that's when that Lane from Team Galactic was thrown into jail. Ash smiled and gave a casual response. Well, I managed to survive. Just barely, though. Ah, is that so? That is quite the surprise. The professor smiled back. That's good to know. Please, do come in. Ah, thank you. Ash lowered his head as a sign of gratitude. How is the center doing these days? Same old, same old. There is nothing really new and exciting going on currently. The professor led Ash to the waiting area of the center. So what brings you here today? I doubt it is just to visit the center. She asked. Ash looked around the center to see no signs of Cynthia. Actually, I heard that your granddaughter was in town. I came here to see her. He answered. Ah, really? Cynthia is currently out in the ruins. I'll call and tell her that she has a visitor. Wait here, said the professor. She turned to walk towards the ruins in the back of the center. Pardon me, Professor, but do you mind if I just come with you to the ruins? I don't think she would mind the surprise. Sure, if you say so. During the walk to the ruins, the professor were greeted by her coworkers. The employees seemed very enthusiastic working in the center. This place has got a positive working environment, hasn't it? Ash commented. Oh yes, certainly. We are mostly joined by people who have great interests in the field, so I'd imagine they all enjoy their works. And it's also lunchtime. The professor explained. Not long after, they arrived at the back of the center. There it is, she's in the main hall of the ruins. She said while pointing at the biggest hall. By the way, young man, yes, if you don't mind me asking, what business do you have with Cynthia? She asked. Well, I don't have any business per se. We're not really strangers to each other. Ash answered. Then may I ask what kind of relationship you have with her? I believe you should ask her yourself, ma'am. After saying words of gratitude to the professor for taking him to the ruins, Ash entered the main hall. It seems the place was cleaned up after the incident 4 years ago. What am I thinking? Of course it's cleaned up. It's been 4 years. He chuckled. To himself at his seemingly irresponsive logic at times. Who's there? Cynthia turned around to see the source of the noise. It's me. Ash said nonchalantly. Ash, why are you here? She asked in confusion. What? I'm not allowed to see my girlfriend. I'm hurt, said Ash jokingly. No, that's not it. It's just unexpected, that's all. You always disappear somewhere. I thought I wasn't going to see you until the 3rd round. She explained. Did you cut your hair? Glad you noticed. What do you think? It looks good. It makes you look cool, she said with a smile. Well, thanks. Ash walked up to her and leaned on the base of the Dialga statue. So what are you doing here? There are only 2 days left before the 3rd round. Cynthia turned to look at the inscription on the wall about the Three-Lake Trio. I just felt like coming here to see my grandmother. And well, I always come to this ruin when I'm here. I've been doing that since I was a child. Ah, I see. Ash looked at the inscription in the center of the hall. However, his eyes caught the attention of something else. Hey, Cynthia, what's that piece of rock over there? It has a funny symbol carved on it. And is it glowing? Said Ash while pointing at an artifact close to Cynthia's feet. The object was about a foot long in width and height, with a jagged bottom. Oh this, she said while picking the object up. I found this relic fragment when I was a child, playing in the ruins. This very hall, actually. But I never found out what it was for. She answered. So it's a relic fragment, huh? Looks interesting, commented Ash while looking at the stone. Anyway, I did come here for a reason. Ash stood up and turned towards Cynthia. Cynthia placed the relic fragment back on the place it was before. Oh, what is it? Well, the last time I came here I didn't actually get a good look at this town. Care to show me around town? Show you around. But there isn't really anything in this town. That was just an excuse for a date. You know that, right? Said Ash while grabbing her hand, leading her out of the hall. Oh, of course I did. Celestic Town, 2 p.m. Thank you for the meal, said Ash after he finished his food. That was great. You sure are an amazing cook, Cynthia. Oh, it was nothing, Cynthia said. I'm glad you liked it. After helping Cynthia with the dishes, she suggested that they go for a walk. To which Ash gladly accepted. The two walked to the park in the middle of the town, where the ancient shrine, the heart of Celestic Town, was located. There they sat down in a grass slope facing the shrine, watching kids play. They look like they're having fun. It's rare to see kids playing outside nowadays. Then again, this isn't a big city, Ash commented while setting himself up to lie down on the slope. What game do you think they're playing? I think they're playing statues, Cynthia answered. They continued to chat while watching the children play, joined by Ash's Pikachu shortly after they started talking. Before they knew it, hours had already gone by and it was getting dark. I have to go now, grandmother must be waiting for me. Cynthia pushed herself up. I had a good time today. Thank you for coming all the way here. Ash sat up and rested his arms on his knees. No problem. I'd go anywhere to see you, he said with a smile. Ah, you. Cynthia chuckled, a faint blush on her cheeks. Always with the cheesy lines. Ash replied with smile. I mean it, though. I know you do. She smiled back. I'll see you later, Ash. Ah, wait. Ash spontaneously grabbed Cynthia's hand, causing her to trip and fall. He instinctively caught her to cushion her fall. Well, this is a rather embarrassing position. Cynthia ended up on top of him, their faces merely inches away from each other. He lifted his head up and closed in for a kiss, with Cynthia doing the same. Ah, Cynthia's doing naughty things, one of the kids shouted not far from them. The Oopal immediately separated from one another. I'm so telling the professor, another one said. Let's not do that, now, said Cynthia, attempting to change the children's minds. Futile as it was, the children ran in the direction of the research center. Nope, we're telling her, catch us if you can. Cynthia stood up, but the children were already too far to chase. Geez, this all happened because you pulled me. Ah yeah, about that. Ash stood up and opened his pack, pulling a hat. He placed the hat on Cynthia's head. For you, this hat is. She took off the cap and looked at it. He hat you wore while traveling in Sinnoh. Yep, why are you giving this to me? She asked. Ash stroked his chin while looking for an answer. I don't know myself. I just felt like giving it to you. Cynthia looked at the hat again and smiled. Thank you. I'll take good care of it. I'll walk you back home, said Ash after putting his arms around her. Cynthia's house was a close walk from the research center. After seeing Ash off, she went inside her house to be greeted by her grandmother. Did you have a good time, dear? The professor asked. I didn't know you liked men younger than you. Oh, please don't tease me, Cynthia protested as she took her coat off. As long as you're happy, dear, the professor added. Cynthia looked out of her living room window to see Ash still in sight. That's weird, she said. Professor Caroline also came to look out the window. What is? I didn't know Ash had that Pokemon. Indigo Plateau. 7 p.m. What? Ash is alive, a woman with orange hair shouted in the lobby of the hotel. Are you serious, Brock? She yelled while shaking the breeder's collar. Yeah, he is, Misty. Stop shaking me, Brock yelled while trying to get himself out of the grasps of the cerulean gym leader. Misty stopped, and pulled him closer for further investigation. Are you sure? 100% sure. She even had Pikachu with him. Look, I wasn't the only one, asked Don and Max. He answered while pointing at the two fellow trainers. Fortunately, he was released when Misty turned her attention to Don and Max. Is this true, Max? Another voice asked. Yep, totally true, sis. He looked as healthy as he could be, and he's gotten pretty tall, too. Even his voice changed. Max answered to his sister, May. I wished we could have gone with you guys, Misty said dejectedly. You could, if you weren't in such a hurry. Brock chimed in. It was pretty cool, we even get to see a Moltres and her egg. Ooh, why do all the cool stuff happen when I'm away? May commented. So, more importantly, where's Ash now? Misty asked Brock while sitting down. Brock shrugged. I don't know, he went somewhere with a friend of his right after we finished the second round. Carmen was his name, I think, he explained. They were in quite the hurry. Misty sighed and massaged her forehead. So let me get this straight. Ash is alive and well, he's in this conference. And he's going under the name of Thanatos. The others nodded in agreement. So why has he kept the fact that he's alive a secret for the last 4 years? I'm sure he has his reasons. Brock tried to come up with an answer. But we could also just ask him the next time we meet him. That's a must, Max said while standing up. The third round is only 2 days, well, 1.5 days from now. We can just ask him the questions later. The youngest trainer suggested. I guess we can do that. Don agreed. We can also watch him battle, now that we know the schedule for the third round. Who's his opponent? Let me check. Max grabbed his poke nav and opened the tournament website. It's Morty. Morty. I've heard that name before, said Brock while trying to remember the name. Max sighed and gave a know-it-all shrug. Don't you know your fellow gym leaders? He's the Acrutique gym leader. It seems the majority of people that found the objectives are the well-known trainers, I guess. We were lucky to have been with Ash. We even found it before Misty and May. And we were so lucky, too. The master balls we found were the last 2. May added. Anyway, I'm off to train. Max abruptly said. I want to get ready for my next match. He then proceeded to leave the hotel. Brock stood up and went after him. I'll go with you, Max. Misty turned to look at Dawn and May. Are you going to be joining them? She asked. No, it's way too late for that. I'm going to get some dinner. May answered cheerfully. That's a good idea. Dawn and Misty said in unison. Celestic Town, 7:10 p.m. Ash continued his walk with his Pikachu on his shoulder. He was in no hurry, since he had nothing to do the next day. The quest for the time gears would have to be stalled, since he had to look for the key to the Rainbow Bridge. He was taking his time admiring the old-fashioned town, which preserved the old ways of life. It was impressive, to say the least. He arrived at the park he was at with Cynthia earlier. Seeing the ancient shrine in the middle of the park next to a tree. He spent a couple of minutes staring at the shrine, before sensing that he was not alone there. Having sensed it too, Pikachu jumped off from Ash's shoulder and got ready for a battle. This time I'm sure it's not just my imagination. He looked around the shrine to see if there was anything out of the usual. Fortunately, everything seemed to be in order. He stepped down a little bit on the slope to get a better look. Squinting his eyes, Ash leaned forward in hopes to see what was startling Pikachu. Pikachu ran to the shrine and jumped on top of it and readied an electric shock. Pikachu, is there something there? Pika Pie, Pika, cried Pikachu in agreement. Having decided to check the shrine, Ash stepped forward yet again. Going down the slope, making sure that there was nothing behind him, he turned around to see, only to find a red eye staring down at him. Startled, he stumbled backwards and rolled down the slope. Recovering fairly quickly, he stood and looked up. To his surprise, there was nothing up the slope. Worried, Pikachu got off the shrine and ran towards Ash to check if he was okay. Green light. A voice was heard from the direction of the tree next to the shrine. Quickly turning around, he could see a humanoid figure facing the tree. Not enough light was present to completely deduct what exactly the figure was. Green light. This isn't funny, Ash said, annoyed. He started to walk to the figure, trying to make sure the identity of the source of the voice. I don't want to play the statues game so late at night. Show yourself. Red light. The figure shouted. In a split second, the figure turned around. Ash was frozen in place. He could not help but to stop. His instincts were telling him so. Fortunately, he had gotten close enough to see what the figure was. It's a Dusknoir, he thought to himself. The Dusknoir slowly started to turn around again. I have 2 choices. Ash continued to talk to himself in his mind. I can either run, or finish the game. Green light. The Dusknoir continued. Ash slowly walked forward. Of course, there's always a third choice. He looked at Pikachu and nodded. Green light. Pikachu, Thunderbolt. Ash yelled while pointing at the Dusknoir. Pikachu let out and continued an incredible surge of L. Electricity while the Dusknoir receives it without flinching. Red light. The Dusknoir shouted again, and just like before, it turned around in a split second. Pikachu, stop the thunderbolt. Ash told his Pikachu. The Dusknoir opened its previously shut eye and revealed one red eye. It shifted its gaze from the ground to Ash. What do you want? Ash asked the Dusknoir. The Dusknoir stayed silent and moved towards Ash, which seemed like an eternity at the time. I'm talking to you. What do you want? Ash asked again. ... You moved. It answered. What? ... You have lost the game. The Dusknoir continued. Yeah, what about it? Said Ash, antagonizing the ghost Pokémon. The Dusknoir stayed silent once more, approaching them in an increasing speed. Ash reached out for his belt and regretted the fact that he did not bring more Pokémon with him. Pikachu. Ash called out. Pikachu looked up at his trainer. Run, Pika. This thing isn't normal, run. Immediately after saying that, Ash turned around and ran with Pikachu on his side. However, Ash was stopped by the Dusknoir that was now blocking his path. I supposed you won't be as kind as to just move out of the way. ... Damnation to the ones that intervene. You're not making any sense. Ash was quickly interrupted by the Dusknoir, who quickly grabbed him by the neck and smashed him into the tree at an unbelievable speed. Ash cried out because of the pain. How the hell can this thing touch me when I can't touch it? He tried to make contact with the Dusknoir but was only greeted by air. ... Damnation to the ones that intervene. Pikachu, run. Ash yelled out to his partner. He was starting to suffocate because of the Dusknoir's hold. He could see that Pikachu did not want to leave him be. Go to Cynthia and ask for help. Quickly. He shouted with the little energy he had left because the lack of oxygen in his blood flow. Pikachu. Pikachu shouted, while dashing in the direction of Cynthia's house. Gee good. Ash smiled. He struggled to take off his glove and revealed his metallic hand. If I can't touch you, then let's see if I can blow you away. Right as he finished speaking, the Dusknoir opened what seemed to be a portal and started descending, dragging Ash with it. Ash quickly tried to activate his arm and absorbed some wind into his arm. He lifted his arm and stretched it in front of the Dusknoir's face. Take this, you bastard. The arm released a strong gust of wind, which startled the ghost Pokémon, however, leaving it unfazed. Having used the last of his energy, Ash fainted. The Dusknoir successfully dragged Ash into the portal, closing it as they both have entered. Ash! Cynthia cried out. Raihe Park, led by Ash's distraught Pikachu. Where could he be? Pikachu ran to the tree that Ash was pinned on, and found no traces of his partner. Pikachu, the Pikachu said as he looked for Ash. He found a glove not far from the tree. Pika. What is it, Pikachu? Asked Cynthia as she came over. She saw the glove and picked it up. Ash's glove. Grand Conference. Third round. 12:10 p.m. The crowd were starting to become restless in the battle arena in Indigo Plateau. They had been waiting for 10 minutes for the match. But only one of the two contestants was standing in the field. He was Morty, the leader of a critique gym, waiting for his scheduled opponent. Come on, get on with it already. Where's Thanatos? One of the spectators shouted. Yeah, what he said. Another one joined. We paid good money to see this. As if cued by the first, thunderous roars of disappointment came from the arena stands. The judges and officials could be seen starting their discussion on the matter. May, who was in the stand to watch his best friend's battle, started looking at the tournament's schedule one more time. It's been more than 10 minutes. Where could Ash be? If he's really Ash, that is. I'm sure he'll come soon enough. Brock replied. And yes, he really is Ash. Max and Don told you so too yesterday. May sighed. Speaking of Max, I wonder how he's doing on his match. I'm sure he'll do fine. His match should be starting now too. Brock replied. Who's he battling? Brock looked over his schedule again and went through the list of names. Oh, he's battling someone good, isn't he? May asked in curiosity. He's going up against Steven Stone. Brock answered. Another couple of minutes went by without any sign of Thanatos. An official came down from the judges' stand and talked to the referee standing on the field. The referee nodded and took a microphone. After the microphone produced a little feedback, the crowd went silent. Due to the absence of Thanatos, after discussed by the officials, Morty is now declared the victor of this bout. The referee announced. By default, Morty advances to the fourth round. In protest, the crowd jeered. After much apologizing by the officials, the spectators exited the arena in hopes of watching a good Pokémon battle elsewhere. Brock and May were also on their way out when they overheard a group of people talking. Man, that was so disappointing. I bet that Thanatos guy lost his nerve and decided to back out. Yeah, tell me about it. That Morty guy doesn't look so strong either. Similar comments were thrown around on their way out of the arena. After a long walk out, Brock spotted Cynthia also exiting the arena. With a Pikachu on her shoulder. Hey, maybe Cynthia knows where Ash is. Brock said as he started to walk towards Cynthia. Why would she know? May asked. It's a long story. Brock replied. The two made their way to Cynthia. Hey, Cynthia. Oh, hello Brock, and you are? May, correct. Cynthia said as she waved to the two. Yes I am. Nice to meet you. May shook hands with the champion of Sinnoh. Cynthia, do you know where Ash is? He didn't show up for his battle, said Brock while taking notice of Ash's Pikachu on Cynthia's shoulder. Why is Pikachu with you? No, Brock. Unfortunately I don't know. I was hoping to ask you about it. The champion answered. Pikachu growled. Question mark. Ash could hear the sound of rain somewhere close. Starting to regain his vision, he realized that he was lying down with his hands tied behind his back. His face felt the cold sensation of what he figured to be pavement. He tried to sit up with little success, his body was still in a lethargic state. You finally woke up. A voice came from the room. Ash looked up to see another man was sitting down across from him, his hands behind his back also. He seemed to be in his mid-20s. In shaven facial hair, ragged clothes. I don't suppose you can untie me? Ash said half-jokingly after he sat up, resting his back on the nearest wall. The man chuckled. The first human company I had in a while and he turns out to be a joker, he said while letting out a dry cough. But we're the same, so I guess it's not that bad. Ash raised an eyebrow. The same. The man looked at Ash and shrugged. We're after the same thing, he said while coughing again. Ash looked at the man and noticed his state. To say that he was looking weak was a massive understatement, Ash thought. How long have you been here? The man rested his head on the wall and sighed. 4 days. At least. I think I might suffer from hyponatremia soon. I've been drinking too much from the rain, the man sighed. But none of that should matter. Now that you're here, we should be executed soon enough. What do you mean? Ash asked. Before he could say anything more, the gate to the room was opened by a pack of Sableye. Wasting no time, the Sableye grabbed the two men and told them to follow one of the Sableye. Having no choice in the matter, Ash followed suit. He stepped out, eyed the room and felt the rain pouring on him. Ash took a good look around him. The scenery was foreign to him, yet he was so sure that he had seen this somewhere before. Then he remembered the sight he saw at Treeshroud Forest. Time paralysis. Everything was colorless. Gray, if he had to give a color to it. A Sableye pushed him and grunted while pointing forward. Ash resumed walking. Hey, where are we? Ash asked the man. What do you mean? The man answered without looking back. This is the place we've been looking for since the world's paralysis. What? The world's paralysis? You're not making any sense. Ash replied back. The man sighed and turned to look at Ash. Are you daft? Ash shrugged. I might be. Now just answer. Where the hell are we? The man looked straight ahead, his walking speed halting by the second. This is where we die. The two were speechless for the rest of the walk to wherever the Sableye were taking them. The strange man seemed to know, but Ash figured whatever questions he asked next would be left unanswered. The more he thought, he was answered with more questions. Am I going to die here? Why do I have to die? Who wants me dead? What have I done? He looked the strange man again. So frail, so weak. Ash thought. From the looks of it, Ash figured that the man had accepted the fact that he was going to die. The two arrived at a large gate, preventing them to proceed further. The gate seemed to be surrounded by rubbles. Then again, everything here seems to be in shambles. This place looks like a ruin. One of the Sableye stepped forward. It opened the gate, the hinges creaking loudly. The two was pushed down by the rest of the Sableye. Ash could feel his body being tied to an object. After they were finished, Ash found himself bound to a pole. They were placed in the middle of a large clearing, the Sableye surrounding them. Ash looked up and saw a Pokémon he never thought he would see again. A Dialga. Suddenly, the man he was with started laughing. After what seemed to be an eternity, the strange man finally stopped laughing. "Welcome to Temporal Tower, buddy. Are you ready to die yet?" Indigo Plateau. 6 p.m. "Hey, Max, don't feel so down, buddy," said Brock as he tried to console his friend. Max had battled Steven Stone earlier in the day for the third round, and had lost a decisive defeat on the hands of the Steven. Axe stared at Steven's profile on the public computer in the hotel. "Arg, I could have had him, it was so close." "Actually you weren't even close, Max," May said as she looked over Max to see the computer screen. Max stared at Steven's page for a while longer before finally accepting his defeat. "You want to go eat dinner, Max?" Brock asked. "Yeah, sure. I'm starving." Brock laughed at Max's attitude. "He sure rebounds quickly, doesn't he?" he said to May. May gave a know-it-all shrug. "I bet he'll cry himself to sleep tonight." "I won't. Stop treating me like a kid," Max retorted. "And today you only won by luck. You're not that much better than me." "Oh yeah." The two siblings continued to argue while on their way to dinner, with Brock following closely behind. Once there, they met up with Dawn and Misty, who had already started eating. After exchanging simple greetings, the three went off to get their food from the buffet. After settling down with, the trainers continued to chat. "So, Dawn, I heard you lost," Max asked bluntly. Dawn sighed in disappointment. "Yes, unfortunately." "So, who was your opponent?" Max followed up on his question. Brock grabbed his handy tournament GUI'd once more and answered Max's question. "I think it was Blaine, right?" "Yeah. That stupid sunglasses old man. Why was he so strong?" Dawn said in annoyance. "His Magmortar was insanely strong. Ash lost to him too, once. Before finally defeating him, I think," Misty said after taking a sip of her drink. "Really? How did Ash defeat him?" Dawn asked. "Well, at the time Blaine's gym was just destroyed because of an incident with Team Rocket, so the second match was held on top of a volcano." Misty started to tell the story. "On top of a volcano? That's crazy," Max commented with a mouthful. "Yes, now that I think about it. It was pretty crazy," Misty continued. "It was between Ash's Charizard and Blaine's Magmar. At the time, his Magmar hasn't evolved yet. They were equally matched, but Charizard took the win by performing a seismic toss, slamming down Magmar to the volcano." "Aw, man, I would love to see that happen," said Max while cleaning his mouth. "Speaking of Ash, where is he? Did you guys get to see him battle?" "Oh yeah, about that. He didn't exactly come to his battle, so he got disqualified," Brock answered. "What? That's impossible. So where is he now?" Max continued the question barrage. Brock shook his head. "We couldn't find him." Max crossed his arm and tried to think. "Did you ask Cynthia?" "Yes, we did, and she doesn't know either," May answered, cutting Brock off. "What's the deal with Ash and Cynthia anyway? You're the second person to suggest asking Cynthia about where Ash would be." Max, Brock and Dawn looked at each other. Under the glare from Misty, Brock started to talk. "Well, you see, this might be hard to believe, but they told us they're dating, if I remember correctly." "What?" Misty and May shouted in unison. "Ash is dating," Misty asked while shaking Brock's collar. "How? And, with the champion of Sinnoh?" May finished what Misty was going to ask. Brock tried to free himself from the devil-like clutches of the Cerulean gym leader. Stoop. "I know as little as you guys do, I swear. Why don't you guys just ask him yourself when you meet him?" After finally being put down, Brock breathed in the sweet air of freedom. I bet he's having fun with Cynthia right now," May said while crossing her arms. "Do I smell jealousy coming from you, sister?" Max asked while giving his sister the look, teasing her. No, of course not. Why would I be jealous?" "Right, Misty," May answered while throwing the question to Misty. "Huh, oh, why yeah, Temporal Tower, ellipsis." The strange man was laughing. Quite loudly, given the situation. Whether it was out of desperation or something else, at that time, Ash was unable to tell. The Sableye below him were cheering for the Dialga, who was not too far from them. The Dialga started to walk towards the two humans who was hung on the poles. As it came closer, Ash noticed that there was something different about the Dialga before him. It had the same shape as the Dialga he had seen before, but there was something amiss. However, before being able to fully examine the strangeness, the Dialga stopped walking. The color. There is a different color on it. Ash thought to himself. He squinted in hopes of getting a better view. The Dialga was in a darker shade of blue than the one he encountered before, and was streaming with orange instead of turquoise color. The diamond on its chest was glaring red, instead of the calming blue. It gave a very threatening roar, demanding silence from the pack of Sableye. It looked at Ash and the other man hung on the poles from its position. The diamond on its chest started to shine as it readied an attack. Ash noticed that the strange man had stopped laughing. He looked at the man, and found him staring back. "Welcome to Temporal Tower, buddy. Are you ready to die yet?" Temporal Tower. Ellipsis. Ash struggled to break free while the Dialga continued to ready its attack. The strange man had gone silent, seemingly welcoming death. Ash looked at the legendary Pokémon once more and wondered why it was taking so long to release the attack. Whatever the reason was, complaining was out of the question. He quickly assessed the situation and played a scenario in his head. He could stay there, take the attack, and see what would happen. He could also try to cut the ropes and escape. Of course, Ash preferred the latter option. There's only one problem. Ash thought to himself. Do I also free that man? Freeing him was possible, but it would also make their escape more difficult. The man would definitely be a liability, mainly because of the man's weakened physical state. Ash looked at how he was tied up once again. Luckily, he could freely move his fingers. Those little movements can easily allow him to cut his ropes with his artificial arm. He pointed his index finger at the ropes and absorbed air from his wrist. He released a thin and sharp stream of air in hopes of cutting the ropes. Feeling the ropes getting loose, he did the same thing a few more times. He got himself out of the ropes to see the pack of Sableye taking cover. Instinctively, he dove and threw his body on the ground. The sound of an explosion came thundering from behind him. He looked at the pole he was tied up at, and saw that the pole had been demolished by the attack the Dialga released. That's some timing I've got," Ash said while getting back on his feet. He looked at the strange man and noticed his head was bleeding because of the fragments shot out from the explosion. He prepared his arm for another go. "All right, here goes," he shouted. He released a burst of sharp air on the ropes, chipping it on various spots, enough to break it with his hand. Ash got the man out of the ropes and carried him over his shoulder, making a run for the gate. The pack of Sableye started to go after them. "Tish, this guy's heavy," said Ash while struggling to keep his body balanced. He passed the gate without any resistance. However, the Sableye were determined to keep them at the tower. Ash noticed a couple of explosions coming from behind him. He looked back to see that the pack of Sableye started to shoot a barrage of shadow ball. Ash tried to run faster in order to dodge the attacks. However, he found it hard to do because of the extra weight he was carrying. The amount of shadow ball decreased shortly after, and Ash decided to take another look back. He saw that the Sableye were running to take shelter. He saw a bright light coming from the direction of the Dialga. Quickly turning around, Ash saw the room he was held in. He made a dash for it and jumped in the room. The earth shook from the attack, causing debris to fall. Ash looked around the room for his bag that he had to leave because of the Sableye. After finding it in the corner of the room, he looked outside to find the way to the Dialga was sealed by a landslide. "I guess I am very lucky," Ash commented upon seeing the blockade. "We should have more time to escape from this place now." He lifted and carried the man over his shoulder once more, heading out towards what seemed to be the way out. He walked for a while before reaching a dead end. It was an open space, looking out to the horizon. He looked down to see how high up he was located in the tower. "Damn, that's a long way down." You're awake. Good." Ash felt the man move. He rested him on the walls to let him recover. "What happened?" The man groaned as he touched his head. "Fragments from the explosion," Ash answered. "You got knocked out cold." "That so? How did you get us out of there?" "I've got a couple tricks," said while showing a grin. "But we're still not home free. Do you know the layout of this tower?" "Where's the way down?" Ash asked, giving the man water from his pack. The man drank the water and gave a big sigh. The only way down was where the Dialga is. Damn it. Now where are we supposed to go? Ash said in frustration. As if on cue, rumbling sounds were heard from where they came from. The Sableye were starting to blow the landslide apart to make their way to Ash and the injured man. He looked over the cliff again. What's down there? Water. The water is as solid as a rock. Because of paralysis. Why? You planning to jump down? Yeah, something like that. I guess. But, normally, from this height, it would be impossible. Ash said while trying to measure the height mentally. From this height, we'd be dead the moment we touch the water. We'd reach the terminal velocity in a flash. He explained as he lifted the man on his shoulder again. However, we just don't have the time. What in the world are you doing? The man asked with a frightened look. Surely you don't plan on jumping, knowing the risks. Well, I still have a trick up my sleeve. Quite literally. Ash walked to the edge of the cliff. And don't call me Shirley. Yeah, haven't heard that one before. Here we go. Ash shouted. 10:30 p.m. International Police Headquarters. Missing Persons Division. One more person to the list. An officer said while skimming over a report he just got from his coworker. We usually get little kids on the list, but a young man. He continued while scratching his head. Now this is wait, do I smell alcohol? He looked up to see a well-dressed man leaning on the wall drinking his infamous Camus. Mr. Kazenakata, what are you doing here? Goofing off again. Kazenakata took a sip of his Camus. It's my break time. And also, call me the Looker, boy. Have you forgotten my code name? He asked. No, Looker, sir. What have you got there? The Looker took the piece of paper from the officer. What do we have here? Mr. Kazenaka, the officer said before receiving a glare from the Looker. I mean, the Looker, sir. I have to give that to the missing person staffs. I'll hold on to this for a minute. Run on along now, I'll give it to them later. Oh okay. Well, have a good day then, sir. The officer went out of the missing person's office. Well, now, I guess I'd better get back. Brother Kazenakata. His assistant called him. Where have you been? You have lots of work to do. Yes. The RK of a hard-boiled detective is never done. The Looker mumbled as he made his way to his office. He opened the door to find an unusual object waiting on his desk. Brother. His assistant shouted. That's a time bomb. What do we do? The Looker gave a chuckle and looked at the bomb carefully. Detectives are constantly living next to death. However, if you are hard-boiled, such dangers are commonplace. But the time is already less than 30 sec. C-CC calm your pants, idiot. Brother, it's your hands that are trembling. And didn't you just pee in your pants? His assistant shouted in protest. Hey, it's not just that. The beeping was getting louder and louder, signaling the bomb's time was running out. Even my chest hair is trembling. The explosive's timer beeped even more rapidly. What does that have to do with the bomb? The bomb popped, revealing a series of confetti. The Looker moved closer and took the letter that was placed below the confetti bomb. What? It's only a letter from a friend. Brother. His assistant called him. I think we may need to clean the floor. Dark Hills. Ellipsis. You feeling better? Ash asked while doing daily maintenance on his arm. The man was eating the food he had been given by Ash like an animal. Yeah, feel like a new person already. Thanks a lot for the food. Man, I haven't eaten anything for days, these things taste amazing. No problem. Ash replied. So where exactly are we? This place, the man said while eating, is called Dark Hills. He continued. Got its name from how it looks after the event. The event. The moment the world was paralyzed. The man said while putting his bowl down, having finished his meal. That's some good food. Wait a minute. The entire world is paralyzed. Ash asked in confusion. When did that happen? You really don't know. The man asked in surprise. Where have you been the last 10 years? 10 years. Yup. I don't get it. Before I came to this place, the world was still fine. The only place where time had been paralyzed was in Treeshroud Forest. Ash shouted in frustration. He grabbed his bag and took out the research papers he had been reading anytime something weird happened. The man noticed the report and quickly snatched it from Ash to take a better look. You. Where did you? The man suddenly fell down. Hey, what happened? Ash said while looking at the man who had unexpectedly gone out cold. Shit. He fainted. Ash went and looked in his bag to look for water. And we're running out of water. Damn, where can I get some water? All the water we passed on the way here seemed to be frozen. I know a place, the man said, struggling to sit down. Oh, you're up already, Ash commented. That was fast. It was just a dimensional scream. Nothing serious. Dimensional scream. I've heard that term before. In any case, the man interrupted Ash's train of thought. I understand what's going on now. What is it? The man got up and started to stretch. This isn't really the place to talk. Follow me, I know a good spot. The two gathered their belongings and started walking again. Are we there yet? We've been walking for 2 days now. Ash complained. Just a little more. We're almost out of the dark hills. The man answered. My place isn't that far away from here. Ash sighed. If you say so. The past 2 days had not been very eventful. There was one instance where they were nearly compromised by the pack of Sableye chasing them, but thanks to the man's knowledge of the area and Ash's quick wit, they had evaded the pursuers. However, despite the fact that they had lost the pursuers, a new problem surfaced. The two were running out of rations. In a world where everything was frozen in place, there was little to none edible objects in their paths. We're here, the man claimed. Ash looked up to find a place where there was color, a place where time had not been frozen. The grass was green, the sky was blue. And he could feel the wind blowing. This is the only place where time hadn't been frozen. My place is over there, come on. They entered a small shack in the middle of the open field. The man told Ash to sit down while he went to get some food and drinks. Not long after, the man returned with some. So, I guess it's about time I explain to you what is going on here. The man started. I guess it is. Ash replied. From the dimensional scream I had, I saw your past. From the papers I took. You were carrying it with you an awful lot, weren't you? He asked. Ash raised an eyebrow at his claim. Yes, I did. And what do you mean my past? The dimensional scream enables me to either look into the future of an object I touch, or the past. However, I can't really control it. It happens randomly. And I cannot choose whether I want to see the past or the future. The man explained. The past, and the future. Ash mumbled. I've had something along the lines of a dizzy spell, followed by a vision. Could that be a dimensional scream too? It might be, but as far as I know, I am the only one with this ability in this world. However, that brings me to my next point. The man paused. Which is? The man took out a Pokédex from his pocket. This. He opened the index page of the Pokédex and showed Ash the date. This is the current time. Ash's eyes widened in surprise. No way. This is 6 years in the future. Yep, you're in the future, friend. The man continued. That left me one question to ask. If you are, as you say, 6 years from Tia. Quote. The fact that you were captured by Dusknoir and were brought here to be executed, that could only mean one thing. You were trying to gather the time gears. The man stated. Yes I was. Ash answered. However, I find it a bit hard to believe that you claim to come from the world 6 years prior. The world ended 10 years ago. Time suddenly froze at random places, so people went to investigate. They discovered the existence of time gears, and were trying to stop the world paralysis. But Dialga had already gone insane. He turned into a primal Dialga, only interested in self-preservation. He captured all the people that were trying to stop him and executed them. That Dialga, and his minions, along with that bastard Dusknoir. Creepy Pokemon that's able to talk. The man looked outside his window to look at the gray mountains. It couldn't be helped, the rate of the paralysis was too fast. In only a few weeks, the whole planet was paralyzed. Miraculously, I escaped the paralysis, somehow. I tried to return the planet to its former state for a long time. Before I finally realized that the 10 years I've spent were completely useless. Throughout those 10 years I met some survivors, rounded them up, and tried to collect the time gears. When we've finally collected them all, we went to Temporal Tower to try and lift the paralysis, but it was useless. The time gears had lost their power. And my comrades died up there by the hands of the primal Dialga. Ash could only stay silent hearing what the man had to say about the current world. I managed to escape, just barely. At that moment, I realized that doing anything here, in the future, would be useless. So I looked towards the past. The man explained, now seated down at the table again. I went back in time, 10 years back. I found a man who was seemingly interested in gathering all the time gears with me. So I explained the situation. Where I came from, the fate of the future. Everything. Ash gulped upon hearing this. Was that man Cyrus? Indeed it was. The man said while lightly tapping the table in frustration. I needed help to get the time gears, and he was the only man I could think of who was crazy enough to believe in the nonsense I was spouting. I may have had a conflict with him in the past, but thankfully, he didn't recognize me. Using an alias, I was able to start the journey to collect the time gears again. However, Primal Dialga found out what I was up to. And well, I was brought back here by Dusknoir to be executed. And then I met you. I see. So let me ask you this one question. The man looked at Ash. I have interfered with this planet's past. I have freed a criminal who was not supposed to be freed. Whoa, wait. Ash interrupted the man. You freed Cyrus from prison. Indeed, it was I. The man stopped Ash from talking any further. Let me finish. As I was saying, I have interfered with the past. Seeing as you come from 6 years prior to now, the world has not ended in your time. Where it should have ended 10 years ago. In your time, it would be 4 years. Somehow, I've delayed our planet's paralysis. But I'm sure that it will not stop there. If we leave your time be, the same future will be happening again and again. So here we are. The man dropped to his knees and lowered his head. I beg you, please save our planet. Ash was dumbfounded at how the man was acting. Ash smiled and offered his hand to the man. Please don't kneel to me. You don't have to ask. After hearing your story and witnessing this horrible sight, I would be happy to commit myself to the cause. The man took Ash's hand and smiled. Thank you, young man. I am glad I met you. The man stood up and tidied up the table. Then it's settled. We're going back to your time. Right. Ash agreed happily. Oh, by the way, I never did get your name. The man said. Ah, that's right. Ash offered his hand for a shake. Nice to meet you. My name's Ash Ketchum from Pallet Town. The man's eyes widened in surprise. That's. Suddenly, the man broke into a loud laughter. This is a very interesting encounter we had. How so? My name is Ash Ketchum. From Pallet Town. Nice to meet you. The man said as he shook the hand of a speechless Ash. Thanks for watching guys. Hope you all are enjoyed this video. If you do, please leave a like, share and subscribe. Also don't forget to support author of this fanfic. So let's end this video here. Until then, see you in next video. Eyes.